Hey everybody, how are you today? We're a few minutes late getting on. We were having a chat about Facebook scam posts, which we'll talk about maybe in another time.
Well,
Anyway,
it was about dogs, so it
well,
kinda
it was about the ones that show lost dogs and they get a bunch of people to share them, and then once they kind of go viral or get enough shares, they change the content of the post. Be careful what you share. Pay attention.
Mhm.
Pay attention. Check things out before you just blindly hit the share button.
Yep,
That would save a lot. But anyway, I digress. So we've got a few new subscribers, a couple, two, three, four new subscribers. So we really appreciate that. Um, we would love to hit 100. I mean, that would be fantastic. We're not that far away now.
right.
We're close. We
We
are
are
close
close. We're closer to 100 than we are
from 100,
from
right?
100.
Right. So if you're listening and if you hang around for a little while and you enjoy what we have to say, then please hit that subscribe button. And if you know somebody that might, enjoy what we have to talk about, um, please go ahead and invite them as well. Share it.
For
If you
sure.
like what you see, share it.
Yeah.
I was in one of my master. Well, I was in two yesterday. They were kind of overlapped each other, but I decided to go to both. First half of one and then the other one.
You can use
But
2 computers to get in both. Anyway, go ahead.
I'd have to log in from two different accounts because it was Zoom.
Oh,
So, but I don't want to do that. I can't. I Are you kidding? I can't even. I can't hardly multitask at all anymore. There's no way I'm listening to both. Anyway, somebody happened to mention on there, when it was her turn on the screen, how much she enjoys listening to what we put out.
oh,
So,
nice.
if you're listening, you know who you are. Thank you very much for giving us a shout out. We really appreciate it. So there's that, and also in a, I don't know, probably a couple months because you and I are going to record an episode with the channeled source.
Yep,
Ask the Druids. We're gonna record that. I think next week sometime, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, next week sometime. Oh boy, I hope I put that in my calendar.
I have it in
We'll have.
mind.
Anyway, we're gonna do that. So we'll let you guys know when we are on her channel. But if you go to the channel source, she's been on with us. Katie
Mhm.
has been on with us. But if you go over to her YouTube channel, you can. Uh, Actually, the one I'm on is kind of seems to sit kind of close to the top. Which is good
Perfect.
because that means people are listening.
Yeah, that
You
is.
never know what people want to hear, if people want to hear what you have to say. Anyway, today we really had a time of it trying to figure out what to talk about. I was like, I want to talk about something fun. We don't get to do fun things too much. Like there's seems to be a lot of heavy stuff going on and
True. Yep.
what have you. So I wanted to talk about something fun, and we went back and forth on a couple of things. John suggested haunted amusement parks,
Yeah.
which I wasn't sure about, but um,
Hmm.
because I have a very specific way that I feel about it. However, with that said, I think we're going to go ahead and do that. We will put that in the lineup because I think it will be funny.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, it will be funny, but y'all, if you know me well, you kind of have an idea how I think about that. But anyway, so today we decided we're going to talk about animals, spirits, spirit guides, kind of the idea of animals having souls. I think a
Mhm.
lot of people kind of don't feel that way.
Yeah.
And is it possible that your animal, your dog or whatever is a spirit guide? It occurred to me that there's another category of animals besides spirit animals, and then spirit guides who are or were animals.
Mhm.
There's also familiars.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
That's
right?
right.
Forgot about that one. So,
Yeah.
I think that that's an interesting, way to add because I believe that
Huh.
familiars have consciousness, right? Like
Right, right.
that's why I struggle to think that oh, I don't know, like a fish, although there is Mr. Limpet, like a fish, right? It could be a familiar or a because I just don't feel like they're very conscious.
So I would guess that the higher up the animal is in, brain capability, the more likely it is to be a conscious being.
Yeah, I
Meaning
think that's
mammals are going to be at your top, fish probably near the bottom. Although I do have a great story that I will bring up in a minute. That
yeah, actually, so I'm just going to throw this one out there real quick because I was reminded of it because now you brought up the top, I'm going to bring up the bottom. I years ago, my husband and I, well, and even before I met my husband, it's where I met my husband. We lived in a condo complex, an
mm,
apartment, and we had a real hard time with cockroaches there, really hard time. And um we had a pretty high population of a certain ethnicity, which I will say is not connected to the United States. And so you make of it whatever you want. I don't want to throw any shade. Although perhaps when I tell you what the thought process was, you might guess. Um, anyway, so those people would not let the exterminators in their apartments to exterminate these cockroaches
huh.
because there was a chance that the cockroach could be their ancestor
Oh
reincarnated
my
as a
goodness.
roach.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'm here to tell you if you ever get the idea that I've come back as a roach, please, squash,
Right.
right? Like, uh, but
Hmm.
I was like, and that was back before I was doing any of this kind of work. Um,
That is an amazing story.
I know
Wow.
it's crazy, right? But I'm here to tell you, I just don't think any light being from the other side would choose to come back reincarnated as a cockroach. I just
Well,
don't buy it.
right. But in their worldview,
Yep.
they don't choose to come back. They are forced to come back
Yeah, right,
as a
right.
lower being. It's
Yeah,
kind of a
right.
punishment, or remember we talked about karma last time, right? It's
Oh,
it's part
oh,
of the karma.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they're sent back as a cockroach as a punishment, wouldn't you be doing them a kindness by taking them out so they'd have another chance? Or do they need to stay here long enough to, like how do you learn anything as a cockroach?
You know what? I think you just have to you have to participate in the being of the cockroach, and you're good to go.
Well,
Whether
then
that's
I think a minute or two is just fine. Oh my gosh. We have not thrown any shade. We have not thrown anybody under the bus. So,
and we are
ugh.
having an awesome time. Wow. Coming back as a
But I
cockroach.
mean it was when you're in a multi-dwelling like that, there is an opportunity. And the problem is, of course, that if there were 12 units on our side of the building, and if 11 units get exterminated and one doesn't, guess what happens? They all go there until it wears off, and then they all come
They
back
all come
again.
back.
So
Wow.
yeah, that's kind of a trip, right? But I don't
Next
know.
time what they do is they bring an exterminator and a shaman.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, now there's a business idea. Whoa. Okay, I'm on it. Holy exterminators. Batman.
Oh my God. Oh man, that's funny. Oh dear heavens, that is funny. Can you imagine? Holy.
Nope. And this would work. This would absolutely work. You bring the shaman in to do his last rites, ensuring that the dead cockroaches are brought to the light. And once he's done, he blesses the family, and then he says,
And then and then and then he sweeps them all up and takes them outside and creates a little funeral pyre for.
or cremation is fine.
Oh my God. Oh boy.
We were actually intending to have a serious conversation today, but
Hey, you just never know where the conversation is going to
You
lead you now,
never
do
know where
you?
this is going to go.
Oh man, that's just too funny. Now, so now, okay, so why don't you go ahead and tell your story, and then I have another thought.
All right.
I have another thought, but I want to hear
Okay.
your story first. That was
Well,
too much fun, right there. That was just too much
yeah,
fun.
I guess we'll get real serious now. My son had a pet toad that he had a number of them, and we had quite a few of them. But at one point, one of his toads stopped eating, and we could tell he wanted to, but was just having so much trouble with the motor, the muscles, and I could tell he was suffering from some kind of a muscle issue. And so I figured out how to kind of like feed that dear little toad a couple crickets every day. And so we knew that once he got the cricket in his mouth, he would be fine. But so anyway, long story short, we nursed that toad for about 3 or 4 months every day, feeding him by hand. And that was that there was a bond there that we did not make with any other pet because we were literally caring for it every single day. And
Interesting.
and when that poor little guy died, I found out two things. Well, okay, so the toad dies, and we gave it a nice burial. And a couple months later, I had a session with Val, the psychic medium, and I said, I want to know, do you ever talk to people's pets? And she said, yes, and there's someone here for you right now.
Wow.
And it was our toad. And so I learned a couple things. First of all, Val said, it's a she, not a he. And she says, I'm just getting one word over and over and over, gratitude.
Oh,
Wow.
isn't that something?
Yep.
Because I have to say that like frogs and toads are
Lower. They're
they're
lower.
well, they're not high on my list, but I know people that love them a lot,
Yes.
right?
Well,
Like
our
I
family is
know,
one of those.
yeah, um I personally adore frogs that are animated or
Oh,
crocheted
yep.
or whatever, but um that I was kind of terrorized by them a little bit when I was young because our
Oh,
house
okay.
backed up to a creek and not like they attacked me or anything, but
You just saw them a lot.
I was I was just squeamish little girl, right?
Sure.
Like I was a
Yep.
squeamish little girl, and I still have this vision. We had a path around this from the driveway around to the back of our house made out of like patio pavers.
Yep.
I'll never forget they were pink and white. Like I never heard of a pink paver since then, but it was like pink. Not like bubblegum, but whatever. But I remember walking around and then there was a frog, big one, belly up
Oh,
on the paver like this, and I screamed.
oh, wow.
It was just too much for me.
Yeah.
My brother could handle it, my father, I don't know about my mother, but I was real sensitive and squeamish. Actually, to be honest with you, I was more sensitive than squeamish, and
Mhm.
so I felt a lot of empathy for that
Yeah.
frog. It
Yeah.
was hard.
Well, you can tell, in our family, feeling the empathy for this poor little frog or toad that wants to eat and can't. And so
Yeah.
there's just that bond there. And back to our point about lower animals and higher animals. With that conversation with Val, it wasn't like, oh, well, she wants to tell you this and this and this and this and this. No, there was just one energy, gratitude,
Gratitude.
gratitude, right? So that's what, you know,
Oh, so if in fact we as light beings are on the other side, choose the energies we want to come here to experience.
mhm,
Perhaps that little toad, whoever they turn out to be,
mhm,
in other situations, strictly came here to experience gratitude.
hmm. I'm honored.
right?
I'm honored.
Right? And what a lesson for a child of empathy and of caring for, those less fortunate. I
Yep,
mean, amazing. That's
it
amazing.
truly was. And that session with Val really, really brought that home to me.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Well, that'll be interesting. So we have actually one day next week, I think, Radley Valentine's new animal deck is coming out.
Oh, cool.
So it'll be interesting to see what the connections are like.
Yeah.
So I mean, now for something, I mean, in the vein, something a little different. I don't know if anybody knows. I guess you probably do. I am a dog person.
Yes.
I love dogs.
Yep.
Like
I do know that.
I love dogs. I don't ever really want to get so attached to a dog again that it nearly kills me, but
That's hard. It's so hard when they get sick.
yeah, I mean it's, but I have an agreement with this dog who is 17, by the way, that he goes peacefully in his sleep. I've talked to Raphael and Michael and Metatron and everybody Sandalphon that I can get my hands on.
Oh, wait,
So
wait. Fill me in on that piece of it.
well, Raphael, the healer
Yep.
angel, the archangel of healing.
Yep.
Sandalphon, the archangel of prayer. Metatron is just around me all the time.
Right.
And Archangel Michael, is like, I mean, I feel like Archangel Michael is a protector, right? So
Yeah.
to protect my heart,
Yep.
that he just needs to go into sleep. That's it. That's all I will accept. When it's his time, you come and get him and take him,
And we're
and
good.
that's it. And we're good
Otherwise,
because I can't.
Angie will have a few words for you guys.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know that I have that much power, but I will be devastated.
Yeah.
Like, although I have taken steps not to be as devastated as I was, and we will talk about my other dog, because she falls into this conversation as well.
Great.
But I remember, we've everybody, you have listeners have, my struggle with church and
Yep.
religion and everything, from the time I was little, and um I think it's a terrible thing to tell a child when their dog, whether their dog passes away of old age or is sick or gets hit by a car or whatever, that there are no dogs in heaven.
Isn't that
Like,
awful?
I mean, it's just terrible. Well,
It,
I mean, I had a minister tell me that no, I wouldn't recognize my mother in heaven either because that just wasn't how it worked. Which
like
was
and
about
and
the
like
end of.
I love how this information gets passed on to children as if this is how it is because I know.
Yeah, right. And I mean, at the time, I was 16 years old when I was
Right.
told that.
And you don't know they're blowing smoke.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I kind of felt like it, but
Yeah.
but all dogs, I believe 100%, all dogs go to heaven, right?
Right. There's a movie.
Yeah, there is a movie, but I mean, I even remember. So my friend, my very dear friend, brought up. She was brought up Catholic, in a
Mhm.
Catholic family. Does not really follow it so much, but some of those ideas and tenets are ingrained. And we were talking about dogs in heaven, and she's like, "Well, I think maybe they have their own heaven." And I'm like, "No,
No.
dogs and people and everybody are all in the, and I'm like adamant, like, just don't even bother to try and talk me out of this because you're not gonna. Um,
That's
because
great.
I believe a soul is an energy, and
Sure.
and the vessel is whatever it is, but that's a human construct.
Right. Yep.
That's what I think. I mean, yes, I know you know that. So there you go.
Right.
There's somebody right there that knows that for sure. But anyway, yeah, so I mean I wonder what kind of a human um what goes on in a human's mind that they have to, like diminish an animal like that,
Hmm.
And
Well,
I don't want to talk about like the
the
egregious things that
religion, right? It comes from the religion. Like, well, it's not specifically in the book, so therefore we can't believe it.
yeah, right. But you know what I did? I'm throwing this one in here just because I can, because I happen to see it today. It's not really the same thing, but apparently not everybody reads the book all the way through. Because as it turns out, there is a Bible verse that says life begins with the first breath. I don't know
Interesting.
what I don't know. I mean, I would have to Google,
Yep.
what verse it was, but I
Yep.
saw it today. Life begins with the first breath. Hello.
Right.
So obviously the teachings are subject to interpretation and their
Yeah,
filter and
indeed. Indeed.
and
We
they
could go on
mold
for
it to
hours
look
on that
like,
very topic.
right? They mold it to look like what they want it to look like. I'm here to tell you that I don't believe it, and I believe dogs have souls, and I believe they have intelligence. I believe cats have superior intelligence, probably to even most humans. I mean, look at them. Come on now. I mean, you watch horses and how they communicate.
Oh, yeah, that's a really
Um,
good example.
yeah, like
Yeah.
they really do communicate as a herd. Like
Yep.
the, I did we're fortunate to have a farm around here where you can go for equine therapy,
Oh,
which
that's
is,
nice. That's
if you have an
beautiful.
opportunity to do that, oh my gosh. Any of you who are listening, if you ever have an opportunity to go and do equine therapy, they are so intuitive and they don't take your crap and they won't let you move on from wherever you are until you process whatever it is that's going on. It is
Dang.
fascinating to watch.
Wow.
But we were, when she was talking to us in the beginning about the horses, and she would say that, the most of the horses could be out in the pasture and together and grazing and whatever. And if something's going on with one that's not even in their line of sight, but something's going on, there's some kind of stress or distress,
Yep.
with
Yep.
one of the herd, they come back.
I love
They
that.
come
I
back
love
because
that.
they're on an intuitive
Yep.
wavelength. They're on a wavelength that's just not
Yep.
available to us, which is fascinating to hear. And they're fascinating I mean, they're amazing.
Yeah.
And so, just to me, another example of,
Yep. Well, on that herd thing, again, I'm going to go back to one of my favorite guys, Deepak Chopra. He's got this section where he's talking about, you know, birds, flocks of birds that just literally turn at exactly the same moment, and fish. And he says, we look at that and we go like, oh, well, that's just how they are. He says, nobody realizes that is a non-visual, that is a psychic connection, because it happens so fast, and animals that are not even in line of sight are able to turn at exactly the same moment.
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, it's really something to watch them.
Yep. And
If
he
you
says,
sit,
we just take it for granted when you say like, oh yeah, that's what birds do. And he says, now think about it. They can't even see each other back there, and yet they're all yep.
that's amazing. Well, see, so I mean, there's just more to them.
Yeah. And I guess I'm saying that because if they have that ability, that is evidence for a spirit, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that I mean, I, I made jokes about the cockroaches, right? And having a spirit attached to them, but when you put it the way that, whether it's what they believe or what it's actually is, I mean, it's a cycle, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody talks about the cycle of life,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Birth, life, death, the cycle of, but that's a human construct. What about the cycle of the soul? Oh, that's good. The cycle of the soul,
Yep. Yep.
right? The cycle of the soul, the choice, the reflection, the choice, the decision to come back, to be born,
Yeah.
to live, to experience what you chose to experience, to
Yeah.
make your way through that physical life, and then pass and then go back. And I mean, the cycle, it's really, if you really expand that cycle
Right.
to
We're
include the
just this.
soul,
We're just a
that's
teeny
it.
tiny little part of it.
Yep, we're just a teeny tiny little, wow, that's
I know. That's
amazing.
cool. That's
Ooh, is that the title of my next book? The Cycle of, what do you mean my next book? The Cycle of the Soul. I better write that down.
well. Thankfully, it's being recorded, so you can always go back to the recording.
Yeah, actually, and I watch this on my big TV. Ain't that funny?
That's awesome. Hey, can I
I
bring up another favorite book about this topic?
absolutely. Why wouldn't
All right.
you?
So the author's name is Rupert Sheldrake. He's kind of a
Oh,
renegade
I've
in
heard
your
of him.
face, yeah, scientist from the UK, and he's got a book called Dogs Who Know When Their Owners Are Coming Home.
Oh yeah, we talked about that
We
before.
did. So I'm just bringing that book up again because it's well researched, and he has just case study after case study after case study of dogs that are laying on the couch, and then when the beloved owner is half an hour from home or whenever, the dog gets up and goes and waits by the door.
Oh,
Never
sure.
mind that it's different times of the day, different days of the week, different
Yeah,
cars, different,
no, they
it's all.
totally know.
I love that book. It's so cool.
And to be honest, um, this fella right here, if my husband spends a lot of time, he's got a man cave upstairs. The dog stays down here because the shower is up there. He doesn't want any part of that. Um, at all. But if my husband's down here, eating lunch or whatever, and I call him to let him know, I will hear the dog like whining because he knows I'm on the phone.
Huh.
So I'll hear him like whining,
Uh-huh.
and he knows I'm on the phone. I know he's got to know I'm on the phone.
Right.
Like
With your
what?
husband.
Yeah, because he doesn't talk to my husband. My husband, well, I don't know. Maybe my husband talks to him when I'm not looking. We'll see. But
How interesting.
yep. I mean, dogs are, they are.
Very
So,
intuitive. Yeah.
well, wow, man, we blew through a half hour already almost. So I want to make sure to get this out there. I find it really interesting that you brought up the idea of talking about animals, and spirit guides and animals with spirits. They have spirits, including cows and sheep and all of them, I believe.
Hmm.
But the idea that your animal can come back as your guide.
Hmm.
So I have a guide called Silver, which last night I was in Dougal Fraser's color workshop. And what were we talking about but the color silver? And I'm
Nice.
like, oh, I have a guide called Silver. I don't think I said it to them, but um she's been around for a long time. Her energy was really powerful when I first, well, it still is, but it was harder for me to tolerate when I first met her.
Hmm.
I had to take it in small doses because it really, really powerful energy. But what I discovered, because I would go for readings and everybody be like, well, I don't know what's with the dog. I don't get the dog. What is the dog? There's a dog. I'm like, I don't, what are you talking about a dog? Like I lost my little white dog, and they're like, no, not that dog. So finally, I was in a meditation and I realized I had a little white Bichon. Her name was Cece, and she passed, killed me,
Hmm.
nearly killed me. I
Hmm.
mean, I was
Yep.
gutted for like 2 years.
Wow.
I was really attached to her. But I was in meditation and I found out this is really interesting because you think the dog comes back as your guide, right? So Silver, my guide,
Hmm.
was my dog, Cece. But my dog, Cece, was Silver, my guide.
Oh.
So Silver, the guide, was the first part of that conversation.
Hmm.
And then she came here as my dog to spend time with me before I was ready for all this energy work and making a connection with her.
Wow.
I
That's
mean, it's
awesome.
crazy, right?
No,
I
that's so cool.
It is, right? It's just and it I was like, Oh, wow. How interesting.
Yeah.
So you just never know, it's really pays to sit and listen and discern and pay attention and, what have you. And she's amazing, Silver. She's just amazing. She's so powerful. Her energy is so powerful.
Wow.
And she as a matter of fact, so powerful that when I do in-person energy sessions with the person on the table, I send her energy to the table, not I don't put my hands on the person.
Okay.
I put my hands on the table and send the energy through the table, and the people can feel the energy in the table coming up through their body.
Wow.
And I don't touch them directly because it's really powerful energy. Like,
Like, ouch.
yeah, I mean, you know, it took I could only sit with it like 5 minutes at a time in the beginning because
Mm.
it was that,
Uh-huh.
it would give me a headache.
Huh.
Like today I was telling you how I channeled Merlin this
Yeah.
morning.
Yep.
And when I came out, I was like, you know, I was
Right.
like,
Quick,
"Oh,
give me a chocolate.
I'm a little spacey here now. I don't know what's happening, but
Wow.
yeah." So I mean, it's really something, if you pay attention and the truth is, animals are part of the cycle of life.
Mhm.
They're part of the well, shall we say, food chain. They are a part of it,
Mhm.
right? That is
Yep.
how it is on Earth.
Yep.
Um,
Funny you mention that about the food chain. Um, Once I realized that animals had souls, I had to really think long and hard if I wanted to keep eating meat.
I know,
And I
I
still
know.
do, but I'm like, yes, I get
So
it now. I get it
uh,
now.
I think, and this is where I'm at with that. Um, Philosophically, I'd rather not eat meat.
Agreed.
Honestly,
Me too. Yep.
philosophically, I'd rather not eat meat. But I am here to tell you that anytime I've tried to go vegetarian or vegan, I get sick.
Mm,
I don't feel well. I don't
yeah.
have any energy.
Yep.
So what I've come to with that is, for example, when I eat eggs, I pay $8 or $9 a dozen for eggs. I buy humane, certified
Yeah, right.
humane
Yep.
raised eggs. I don't buy, corporate
Right.
manufactured eggs.
The factory.
When I buy steak, as often as I can, it's a trip because, it's a 45-minute ride. So we eat steak maybe once a week, but as often as I can, I buy humanely raised,
Mm,
certified humane.
wonderful. Yep.
So a steak is, is $30 a pound,
Yep. It is. It
but
costs more to
I'm willing to
more
pay
to
it.
do it right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm willing to pay it. I don't do chicken. I hate chicken. Like I can't even stomach. One time I tried to make something out of ground chicken and I thought, "Oh, why did you do this? You don't even like chicken. Are you crazy?" Somebody, "Oh, you can make shepherd's pie with chicken." First of all, no. We'll just leave it at that. I'd rather just have the vegetables with the potatoes on top. Just leave the
Oh,
damn
that's
chicken
funny.
out. And I
That's funny.
certainly don't want to eat a damn turkey. I just don't. So, I mean, if you look at it, if you think, okay, they have souls, right?
Yep.
And they're a turkey. Maybe they're like, "Oh, great, I'm free. I can try again and come back with, as a biped. What is it, a biped?
Biped, yes.
Biped. I'd like to come back as a biped instead of a fowl."
Right. I think the idea is, by depriving another being of its life or participating in that system, you somehow, mm, and, like philosophically, there's an issue with that because
I,
yeah,
yeah, I'm
right,
with you.
yeah,
But
um,
the truth is, if you go backwards, like not as much now, although I would argue that more than ever, but I don't want to get into that conversation. But if you go backwards centuries, a
mhm,
couple, two, three, they didn't have a lot of option,
true,
you know. But if you watch or you read or you pay attention to things, when you if you read anything or see anything like there was a show on once about King Arthur, and I've read other things, and when they will say dispatched an animal,
Mhm.
for the purposes they did it for the purpose of food,
Right, right.
but they offered gratitude, and there was some ceremony to it. It
Mhm.
was they were grateful because without it they would have starved,
Yeah. Right, right.
so that's an entirely different thing than some schmuck from the Orange family with an elephant gun standing with a
Mm.
giraffe's neck hanging over his arm.
Yep, 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 yep.
That's criminal.
Yeah.
That's
Yep,
criminal.
yep.
So I feel like that, that's one of
Yeah,
those things
I
that's
actually, I think the gratitude is a good is a big part of it.
right.
A friend of mine is a Muslim, and but way back in my career days, in the company I was in, we had one guy in our department that was a hunter, and the Muslim guy said, "Would you take me hunting sometime?" And we were all looking at him like, "I didn't realize you wanted to hunt." And he said, "Well, in the Muslim faith, you can hunt as long as you apologize to the animal and thank him for his service."
Right.
I'm like, "Well, that's cool. That's
I,
beautiful."
I mean, that's honoring life, isn't it?
Exactly. That's and I that gave me such a respect for him and for that whole idea of like you just, you don't just go blindly, you know, killing animals, but by acknowledging and having gratitude makes all the difference.
Gratitude, gratitude is
Yep.
where it's at for everything, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
skip the attitude and try for gratitude. Ooh, that was a good one.
Wow.
Wow, there somebody's on fire today.
I'll say,
Um,
dang.
skip the attitude, go for the gratitude. I like it. But you're right. I mean, it's hard. That for me it's really hard. And if I think too much, like if I think too much about it, I have to be careful. If I think too much about I can't eat.
Yep. Yep.
Like
Yep.
I have to
Right.
um and don't get me wrong, because I really do enjoy a very good steak. I
Sure.
do.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
I have a taste for it. However, I will save all the salmon.
hmm,
I'll never take out a salmon. Like
hmm.
they can keep swimming upstream or whatever the hell they do. I don't care. I don't want to eat one of them things.
Oh, that's funny. Hey,
So
I got another topic I want to quick jump on if we got just a few minutes.
yeah, absolutely.
Shamanism, right? Shamanism uses those I think was it four different animals for the different like the north, south, east, and west.
Oh,
And they so just looking at animals and spirit guides, it reminded me that shamanism makes a really big deal about the aspects of life or the aspects of the soul are represented by different animals. So
totem
yes,
animals.
yep,
They're oh cool. High symbolic capital in Western culture and mythology. Bears,
yeah,
foxes, deer, porpoises, as well as dragons. Well,
yep,
I I dig me a dragon, that's for sure.
yeah. There's four that I'm familiar with. There's the eagle, there's the jaguar.
Oh,
Shoot, I'm
interesting. Power animal as opposed to spirit animal.
okay. Interesting.
So the jaguar, the eagle.
Somewhere
I
here
don't.
I've got a power animal deck.
Oh,
Yeah, where is that? I'll have to dig it up. That would have been nice for the show. But
yeah. Well, and you and I are not really known for our thinking ahead. How about that?
we're good for a good discussion though. So
We
that's to our
are. We
credit.
definitely are. So, how do I know my power animal? Spend more time outdoors. Okay. Yeah, I don't.
I got a funny
Doesn't.
animal story. You want to hear one?
Sure.
Um, I I have a friend locally who's a psychic, and I was woken up one morning by some noises coming from the front of our house, and didn't really know what it was, didn't think too much of it. And the next morning, I looked at my Ring doorbell video, and there were 3 deer that had just walked through our front yard and nibbled on our shrubbery. And I happened to mention that to my friend who's a psychic, and she said, "Oh, that's your spirit animal." And I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "Deer is your spirit animal." Um, she said, your guides have just told me that is your spirit animal." And since that point, I noticed that, like, I one time I got into my car at an office that I had to go to, and as I'm getting into my car, I realized there's a deer that just walked right across the parking lot. I'm like, all right, okay, all right. So, and it was interesting that she was pointing that out, that that's not just random deer coming by. They came by your house to let you know.
Here I am.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if I don't know if deer are my spirit animal or if they were, maybe perhaps played a role. I haven't seen any in quite some time. I mean, we do see them here from time to time. I'm pretty rural.
Hmm.
But I have actually I didn't hit the deer hit me
Oh,
twice. It's happened to me twice. Took out the side view mirror on my car and the deer kept on going.
yeah. Yep.
And then sideswiped my car and the deer kept on going. So both times there was no fatality
Right.
except for damage to my vehicle.
Yep.
Um and I just remember like thinking to myself and just putting all the prayers out there, like, I don't want this to happen again. I don't want to hit a deer. I don't want to hit a deer. I don't want to. So this is the best. So I was driving from where I live, which is Crystal Lake, to another town called Huntley.
Hmm.
And Huntley, I call it the Huntley Wind Tunnel. Like it's really open. It was undeveloped, especially then. And I was driving down this road. There's a road where I'm driving whatever direction I'm driving, and on my right side, it's open land, but it's like a hill.
Okay.
Illinois is flat, right? But we still have small hills.
Small hills. Yes.
So there's this hill, on my right, and as I'm driving towards this mall that I was working at, I see out of the corner of my eye 3 deer coming down this hill. And I was thinking to myself, "Oh no, no, no,"
Right.
because I could tell by the
Yep.
timing of
It
it,
was
right?
intersect.
Like it was like, and it was, it's a 50-mile-an-hour road, and there are people behind me, and you just don't know what to do. So I'm like, "Oh please, I don't want to hit these deer. I don't want to hit these deer." So when I'm coming up and I'm getting to where the deer are, they're running down the hill like toward the road,
Hmm.
and as I get like nearly right on top of them, they all turned right and stayed on that side of the road, stayed on the
Huh.
open land
Wow.
instead of coming across the road. And I was like, I
Thank
don't know who
you.
you are
Right.
or which one of you that looks out for me did that, but thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
That's
because
cool.
I was, not up for
Right.
hitting a
Smashed
deer.
cars
I
and
mean, and it would have been bad because I was going 50 miles an
right.
hour.
Right.
The other 2 times it happened, I was going 25,
Yep.
because I was in the back neighborhood where I used to have to wait for the chickens to cross the road.
There's a joke about that.
No, there really is a joke about that. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Okay. So, um no,
Not
I mean
already.
this is a legit joke. Like this is funny. I was working at a tax office in another town over called McHenry. I live in Crystal Lake, and the way to get there, I'm in a rural, like uh, what do you call it? Unincorporated area. And so I would go the back way to get to the main road to get over to the tax office through like the neighborhood,
Yeah.
kind of like through the neighborhood, but a rural neighborhood. So when I would do it, I would drive down this road called Wright Road, which I thought always was funny. Like if you're on Wright Road, you're always right,
On
right?
the right road. Works for
Um,
me.
but sometimes I would get caught and I'd have to wait for the chickens to cross the road. chickens, waiting for the chickens to cross the road. So the chickens every day, chickens crossing the road every day, chickens walking alongside the road. They're chickens, like there's all these chickens, right? And then one day, no chickens. I was like, no more chickens. So a couple of days later, after a couple more rides, no more chickens. Then the next thing I know, on the side of I don't know, there was like a garage or a building right, next to the street by this house
Yep.
where the chickens, free range chickens, PS, because, they were allowed to cross the road. Sign on the side of the garage as I'm driving down the street of the house where the chickens lived. There's a big sign. It says Lynn's Roasted Chicken.
Aha, says Angie.
So
I
solves
figured it
the
out.
mystery of where the heck are the chickens. I don't want any part of that roasted chicken, but
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, the poor chickens.
Have you ever seen those articles, like a Facebook post that are listed as like top tweets from parents? Okay. One of my favorites was 4-year-old daughter says, "Hey mom, I just found out that there's another word of chicken that's an animal." And mom says she has a very scary realization coming in a couple minutes. As in, the food chicken and the animal chicken is the same thing.
Oh man. Wow. Yeah, see? You just
Right. When little people realize that, they're like, oh, we eat them. Yep.
Yep. That's my youngest son, he had trouble like even with roadkill.
Yeah.
It bothered him a lot.
Yep.
I'm gonna tell you what, I'm fixing to turn 65, and I have never in my whole entire life, as rural as I live, hit a squirrel. Ever.
Me neither.
Never.
And we got plenty of them over here.
I step on the brakes, makes my husband like crazy.
Right.
He's like, the squirrel is not more important than you are. I don't care.
Right.
I'm not hitting the squirrel.
It's what I do.
It's exactly. And then have you ever seen the ones where, you avoid the squirrel and you see there's a Facebook post of a squirrel dressed in like knight's armor, all those squirrels that you avoided, now you need help, and here comes the squirrel riding it.
Yep.
To help you because there was that commercial with the beaver.
Yeah.
Where the guy swerved to get out of the way of the beaver.
Yep.
And then a tree, the road was about to wash out and the beaver took down a tree, so the guy had to stop.
Yep.
And they're like,
right.
I mean, I buy that stuff. I believe those things. So
I help you, you help me. Well,
exactly.
I mean, back to the spirit guide thing. That's the kind of thing they can do.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So, but as far as I'm concerned, you can have the birds. The birds need to go live elsewhere. I'm just saying. It's they have no consideration for the ground below them. None.
Indeed.
But that's okay. I mean, that they're all part of it, right? They're all part of it. So anyway, well, this was fun. This went on actually even a little bit longer. I didn't think we were going to have this much fun. I mean, from cockroaches to dogs to deer. We never did talk about the most royal of all, the cat.
True.
I love cat.
Well, that's because we're going to do a whole episode on cats.
Oh yeah, well they demand it, right? I don't know. I am known to watch cat videos from time to time. They just make me, it makes me laugh so much when the cats whap people, like some animal does something that they don't like and they just go whap.
Bam. Like, wow. I couldn't have done it better myself.
It makes me laugh so much.
Yep.
Anyway, well, this was fantastic. Thank you so much. We had a really good time. Moving on, we're going to go over and do tarot time. We've got a few episodes of that left. And next week, we haven't decided. But I would also like to put out there, if you've watched this far, if you are interested in being a guest on the show, let us know and we'll send you a link where you can sign up, where where you can sign up to be a guest on the Wednesday afternoon show.
Yep.
So we'd love to have, some new perspectives or different,
Right.
we love to have conversations with other people. I guess
Absolutely.
that's the whole
Guests to
thing.
harass, of course.
John, you're not supposed to tell them that ahead of time. Of course, we're going to harass them. Just kidding. Anyway, okay. So that's it for now. But we will see you in a few minutes for tarot time. And we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye, everyone.
And if you haven't, please hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. All right. See you soon.